All right, y'all. So ex-pastor, he went from preaching the gospel, serving God, all of that stuff, right? He went from that to now becoming a full-time TikToker, explaining to everybody why Christianity is false, explaining to everybody why he left and why you should too. And look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You have free will. You can think whatever you want to think. You can think whatever you want to think. But I think most people who come from this type of environment where they used to be a Christian or, used to be in a position of leadership in the church and then they fell out for whatever reason, I question if you ever really experienced the goodness of God in the first place. That's what I question. Because if you truly experience the goodness of God, ain't no way you turning back. Ain't no way you going back to your slop after you experience the best meal that you've ever had in your entire life. Ain't no way. But sometimes what happens is people get caught up in this, religious spirit. They get seduced by these religious spirits. And they feel like they have to act a certain way or do a certain, a certain task or certain activities in order to be right with God or in order to be holy. And in doing so, they realize how exhausting that actually is. And that causes them to deconstruct and fall away from the faith. But God calls us to a relationship with him. God is a relational God. He's not a God who just sits up on a throne and is just a dictator, but he actually invites us to experience things alongside of him, to live this life and walk on this earth alongside of him until we get to heaven and get to meet him face to face and get to hang out with him for all of eternity, which is going to be lit. You want to talk about lit here on earth? Y'all ain't seen nothing. Y'all ain't seen nothing. But anyway, somebody sent me this video. Shout out to you. Let's get into the video. I'm going to try to keep myself calm, cool, collected, but I can't guarantee that. I'm already kind of amped up. So let's go.
Yes, I am angry. I'm angry because I lived a lie for 15 years and I believed it with all my heart. I separated myself from my family, friends. I moved, relocated, disassociated myself from everyone or anyone who was not saved. I believed that I could not be unequally yoked together with non-believers. So I turned my back on good people or people who needed me. But it was for the cross's sake, right? It was for the cross's sake. Rather than fearing men, I feared the one who can cast both soul and body in some place called hell. I took hook, line, and sinker the false story of love called John 3:16. That's no message of love. That's a message of coercion. Twisting your arm behind your back is a message with the ultimate threats on the end of it. While it says, oh, if you believe, you'll get some cake. But if you don't, I'll burn you. Let me tell you something, every believer. Yeah, I'm mad because I care more about people than your God. It is just a book. It ain't real. The God of the Bible is the devil of the Bible. I don't say that to be mean. I say that because it's a fact. It ain't no such thing as a devil. I'm just using the terms that you're familiar with. It was the God of the Bible that drowned people. It was the God of the Bible that sent animals out of the woods to destroy children. It was the God of the Bible who chose to unalive all the firstborn in Egypt, even the slaves and even the firstborn of the cattle. It was the maniacal God of the Bible that did that. And then intimidating you and I so much to the degree that we would see the wickedness of the character Yahweh in the Bible and deny it and say, no, he wasn't wicked. No, it really is our fault. It's us. No, it's not. Do you know how many people are on the brink of suicide or have committed suicide because they battle within themselves, wondering why a loving God made them the way that he did, but yet because of how they were taught, God, you in your own word condemned me and you made me this way? Do you know how many people are miserable and terrified of the monster in the closet? They can't live their life because they fear that this wicked beast is going to destroy them because they won't find him while he's playing hide and seek. While there's no evidence that he even exists, or if it's a he, it, she, they, them, we don't know. But keep in mind, this proverbial God is the one that created you and I this way. And then the writers said in the book that he established the end from the beginning, that none of this is done outside of his will. So here's what I want to say. First of all, to all you beautiful people out there, ain't nothing wrong with you. You weren't born in no sin, shaped in no iniquity with some death sentence on you simply because you were born. If a programmer developed a piece of software that had a virus, we would think something was wrong with that developer if we saw them going crazy over the software and stomping it, jumping up and down like saying, what's wrong with you, software? What's wrong with you? You're going to burn for this. We would think that person was crazy. You see it now, right? You beautiful person who might be gay or whatever. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You live your life and you're a beautiful person. It is the Abrahamic religion that makes us mistreat people. You're great people. You're wonderful people. We just simply believe the book. And please forgive us. Forgive me, because I was the same. I was homophobic like many black men while having loved ones who were gay. How dare you? I will be damned and refuse to lift my hands up for any idea of any type of God that would make me in sin, whatever the hell that is, make me worthy of death. And then tell me if I don't find him in the midst of all of these claimed fictitious ideas called gods, I'm going to burn for an eternity. But let me tell you something. If you were real, I ain't nobody's sheep. I ain't nobody's slave. And I'm not scared of you or your idea. So if in fact that God was real, burn me. Because I'd rather be with the people, the real ones. I'll stand with them. Burn me. You want to burn me because I love more than you? That's what I would say. Do it. Because I ain't nobody's punk. And you ain't going to threaten me. And don't let nobody threaten you. For all of...
Let me just say this. I don't want what he got. That is a broken man. I don't want what he got. That man is broken. If this is what it looks like to turn your back on God and to deny your faith, to deny your Father in heaven, if that's what it looks like, I don't want no part of that. You can keep that. You said you want to be with the real ones. You ask God to burn you. You ask God to send you to hell so that you could be with the real ones. You can keep that. I don't want no piece of that. I don't want no piece of that. Because in all actuality, everything that you just explained is exactly why you should believe in God, specifically the God of the Bible. Because let me ask you a question. How would you do it? If you were the creator of this entire universe, if you wanted to create beings in your image to be like you, what would that look like exactly to you? How would you go about doing that? And how would you go about doing that in a way that provides a true opportunity for love to be displayed on both sides? God provides us an opportunity to truly love him, sheerly based on how we actually feel. We have the decision to love God or not. And God made the decision to love us. He laid his life down on the cross so that we could enter into his royal family, so that we could be spotless, without sin. Whatever brokenness you're going through in your life, and look, I'm not one of those dudes. I'm not going to sit here and debate theology with you, because some people know Bible, but they don't know Jesus. So I can't sit here and debate, theology with an ex-pastor when this ex-pastor doesn't even know Jesus. We're just going around in circles. Like, it's not productive. But what I can tell you is that all that energy that you have, all that hatred, all that frustration, all that pain, all that brokenness that you have inside of your spirit, I can see it in your eyes. Take that to God. Take that to God. And tell him to deal with it. And tell him to show up right now in this moment and to deal with it. You're taking the easy way out. You're taking the easy way out. It's easy to deny God. Naturally, man hates God because man wants to do whatever we want to do. We don't want to be told what to do. And just like you said, I'm not a slave to anything or anyone. That's a lie. If you're not a slave to Jesus Christ, then you're a slave to this world. If you're not a slave to righteousness, then you're a slave to sin. The choice is yours. You can choose whatever path you want to go down in life. And that's the incredible nature of God, is that he allows us to have free will. And some people look at that free will as a negative. Some people say, well, how come God didn't just make us just know everything and, don't do this and don't do that? How come he just didn't just make us just essentially robots that would just served him like artificially intelligent, like robots that could just do whatever God says, and there would be no pain, there'd be no hurt, there'd be no murder, there'd be nothing. Well, you're asking for a dictator. And if God would have been a dictator, then there would be no decision to love. He would have taken that decision to love away from us. And then is it truly love? Or is it forced upon us? Let's watch this next video. There's another video here. Let's watch this one.
Okay, let me make sure I'm following. Colonizers told us that we were to pray to the same God that they prayed to. Keep in mind, while they told us to pray to this God, they never really believed that this God was our God and that we could really be a Christian. Keep that in mind. But when you look at the so-called loving idea called God or Yahweh, you do not find love. Let's look at his plan. So he put in the midst of the garden a tree of knowledge of good and evil, which means that they didn't know good or evil before partaking of the fruit. You know this is so because the God of the Bible said that he put cherubims and all that crap to protect the tree of life, lest they should eat from that tree and live forever. Now that's important because that means, or we can infer that they were not going to live forever unless they took from that tree of life. But let's forget that right now. Let's look at your God's proposition. I was born in sin. I was shaped in iniquity. That means it was not my fault. And to try to say that it was Adam's fault or the fault of our fathers, then that makes your God a liar, because he said he would not visit the iniquities of the fathers upon the children anymore. So your God is not supposed to practice punishing you today for something that was done yesteryear. And what makes him more maniacal is that it wasn't even you that committed the offense. This was done allegedly in Adam, a total fictional character. So I must believe that I am nothing, more than nothing. I'm worthy of death simply because I was born. Well, Christians, if your God is the creator of everything, then who created me? Who created these circumstances? The Bible says it's your God's will that should stand or shall stand. Who shall be able to resist his will? Who? So was his will to hide from you? It seems like this God is no different from the tooth fairy in that we don't see this God outside of our imagination. Like in real life, no God. Only inferences, speculation, guessing, but no God. Just a book that's full of lies, mysticism, magic, and portrays a bloodthirsty God that only forgives when blood is shed. A loving God where? The only reasons why you Christians say he's a loving God is because you say he tortured and killed his only son for me. Oh, he's such a loving God. Oh yeah? God of love, huh? What about Adam and Eve in the story? Any child who can read and comprehend will not get love out that story. Never heard it? Want to hear it? Here you go. This wise, all-powerful God came up with this brilliant plan. Now, the first time he screwed up, he had to kill everybody, flood the world, and start over again. I know, don't trip. He's still all-knowing. So he takes these humans, put them in this garden, then puts this tree of knowledge of good and evil there, and it says, you eat from any other tree, but don't eat from the tree that's in the middle of the garden. If you do, you're going to die. In the day thereof that you eat, you're going to die. A maniacal God. You know, I as a father would not have set my children up to fail like that. Already positioned to kill them. But you ever consider the fact that they did not know the difference between good and evil? They didn't know. So they partake of this fruit that he says do not partake of. But they didn't know. And it was the serpent that told them the truth. Because in the day that they did eat, they did not die. And that's what the serpent said. The God of the Bible said you would die in that day. The serpent said, no, you won't. He knows if you eat, you're going to become like him, knowing good and evil. So in the story, that's exactly what happened. Now, who told the truth again? Cognitive dissonance sets in. Then the Christians start with they lying. No, it just means they were spiritually dead. He didn't mean that in that day. Sorry, that's what it says. Loving God, huh? Let's keep it going. There was some kids out playing, you know, they saw another kid. Kid had a bald head. You know how kids do, right? So the loving God of the Bible decided, ooh, oh, you want to laugh at the bald head of a prophet? Sent beasts from the woods to rip them apart alive. Loving God, right? Let me keep going. Oh, we can see the love of this God exemplified in Exodus. Jesus loved the little children, all the little children of the world. But is this true? Because the God of the Bible had this habit of unaliving them through many different means, like drowning, eaten by beasts, disease. Oh yeah, Yahweh know how to get rid of folk. Let's keep going. The Bible says that your God hardened Pharaoh's heart that he might not let the people go. That he told Moses, he ain't gonna let them go because I hardened his heart. But watch this, I'm gonna get some glory out of him. So you think that it's just that your God controls Pharaoh like a puppet and then punishes him for doing what he controlled and commanded him to do. Oh, loving God. Oh, I ain't finished. He's so loving that if a woman is S-A'd or R-A-P and you know the rest, your old loving God made a way for her to marry her. You know who? Who did that to her? Loving God, right? Let's keep it going. He loves his children so much that do and does what he says, that he unalives their children. Yeah, that's right. The God of the Bible gets a kick out of unaliving his children's children, like Job.
Everything that he said, it's all accusatory. It's all accusatory. It's all, God did this. God is evil. God is wrong. Why did you do this? God, you don't make any sense. Therefore, you are not who you say you are. Therefore, why should I believe in a lie? It's all accusatory. None of it is self-reflective. It's all looking at God and accusing God of doing things without understanding the context in those situations and the decision making that went into those stories. Because there's things in the Bible that seem harsh to us. It's like, bro, why did you do that? Oh, they were laughing at the prophet and then you sent bears to come and eat them? Like, God, that's kind of harsh. Okay, there's deeper context. There's more to that story. There's something deeper that's happening. There is such a thing as righteous anger. Not every decision that God makes is going to look, quote unquote, how do I say this? it's not going to look how we would expect it to look. But does that mean that it's not good? Does that mean that that decision was not a righteous decision? Of course not. It just means that we don't understand it because we're not seeing all the different angles that God is seeing. We're not seeing all the different ways that that decision is impacting generations of people. We're not seeing it. We're just honing in on one specific scenario, and then we're using that to accuse God of being something that is completely outside of his nature. Sounds a lot like Satan. Sounds a lot like a spirit of the Antichrist. It sounds a lot like you got around the wrong people. And I don't know, maybe you got finessed. Maybe you were in a church and maybe some things happened. Maybe people did you wrong. Maybe people did you dirty. Maybe you fell into, maybe you fell into some sin. Maybe you fell into some same-sex attraction. Maybe the church didn't like that too much. Maybe you chose that identity of sin over the identity of Christ. Maybe that felt more comfortable to you. And maybe you ran with that. But my question is, you're telling people not to follow God, so then who are you telling us to follow? What are you telling us to do? Because if you ask about 98.7% of people, I think majority of people would agree that there's more to this experience than just what we can see with our eyes. There's more to this than just a physical reality. There's a spiritual reality that we can't see, but it's happening all around us. I think majority of people would agree with that. It would be very silly for you to think that when we die, it's just, that's it. It's just black, just like it's over. That would be very silly to think. Most people have some inclination of, you know what, there's something on the other side of death, but I don't know quite what it is. So what are you suggesting? What do I put my faith in? Do I put my faith in this world? Do I put my faith in myself and another man and in a woman? What, in a dog? What do I put my faith in? What is your solution? Because from an outsider looking in, it doesn't look like you have very much peace in your spirit. It doesn't look like you have very much reassurance. And God can give that to you. But you have to come to him with a humble heart, with an honest heart. It's okay to be angry with God. But don't be condescending. Don't be disrespectful. It's okay to be honest and transparent and let God know exactly how you feel. But do it in a way that wants to know the actual truth, not just some truth that you've conjured up in your own imagination. Because the facts are the facts. The cross is real. Look up the factual historical data for the resurrection. I think there's another video.
Here's another episode of stupid shit I used to believe when I was a Christian. Not only did I believe this, but I taught it and I practiced it. Okay, I believe that a God wanted 10% of my money, and that if I gave this God 10% of my money, it would bless me. But if I didn't give this God 10% of my money, it would not stop the curse from coming on my life. Now, before all of you come in my comments and say, well, you were a pastor, you took their tithe, you need to give it back. As I said, I practiced tithing too. I was a huge tither in my own church. So, there's that.
Okay, let me make sure.
Oh, that was actually dope. Okay, I don't know. People get so hung up on tithing. If you're that hung up on tithing, you should be tithing because there's a blockage in your heart that is attaching some sort of faith in your finances that outweighs the faith that you have in God. But like I said, if you get finessed, if you're out here believing these men of God, these prophets, these prophetess, and if they're asking you to sow a seed of $8,000 and in return you'll receive 80,000 in 80 days, and if you sow that $8,000 seed and you don't get nothing, then it's easy to kind of think like, wow, God, why did you tell me to do this? But did God tell you to do that, or were you just trying to get some money quick and you thought that you could use God in order to increase your finances? Because God's not after your finances, he's after your heart. And I know you've heard that a lot, but it's true. Like, when are we going to get that through? Like, God, the money is nothing to God. He created all of this with his mouth, with his words. He doesn't need our money. He's after our hearts. But like I said, like, there's a lot of different things that can pull you away from Christianity. There's a lot of different distractions, and the devil has so many different tactics to try to get you to look away from the truth and focus your eyes on him. And when I say him, I mean the devil, little h. But ultimately, you have to stand firm on your personal relationship with God. Don't get seduced by these religious spirits. You have the Spirit of God living inside of you. I'm talking to Christians. You have the Spirit of God living inside of you. Lean on the Spirit. I hear from God every single day. I talk to God every single day. We communicate every single day. I know exactly what he's done in my life. I know exactly what he's done in the life of my friends and my family. I know the place that I was before, and I know where I am now, and I can see where God is trying to get me to. And if it wasn't for God, I would not be here, like literally on this earth. That's the headspace that I was in. So I can only lean on what I know. And I know that whatever God you're talking about, little g, is not the big God that I know. And that's that, you know. A lot of people are not going to like that response, but I'm not going to get into a theological debate because like I said, some people know Bible, but they don't know Jesus. There's a difference. I'm not telling you not to read your Bible. Be in your Bible, be in your word, but be in your word because you are just so intrigued and you're so curious and you're just so in love with God that you just want to know more about him. Don't read the Bible just so you can find ways to try to disprove the character of God or discredit the nature of God. There's a difference. All right. So I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what y'all think. Get in my comments. Like this video. I'm out, y'all.